Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are in for another interesting panel discussion in the series of panel discussions we've had since yesterday. At the very outset, I wish to thank Security Watch India to have given me an opportunity to chair and moderate this panel discussion, which is now more inclined or more focused onto physical security. Now, before that, I'll give you a short introduction about myself. I am Rohit Shukla. I head the security and safety initiatives of IDBI Bank. So IDBI stands for Industrial Development Bank of India. So that was formerly known with that name. And we are very fortunate that we today have an elite and a very elaborate panel with some technical experts also in the panel. So it's our fortune, and they will be on the panel today. And may I request the panelists to just give a short introduction about themselves for the benefit of the audience, the panelists.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ranjit Nambiar. I am responsible for the South Asia business for HID. HID is primarily into physical security, IT authentication, and secure printing solutions. So maybe I get a chance to speak to you and interact with you later and convey more details. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Major Mangesh Rana. I am the National Security Manager for Yes Bank, and presently associated for last 2.5 years with Yes Bank. So prior to joining Yes Bank, I have almost 9 years of experience working with the Indian Army. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Vishwas. I am the head of security for IndusInd Bank. I joined IndusInd Bank around 6 months back, trying to value add to certain existing security programs and procedures. I'm a certified security professional, certified protection professional from ACES, and I bring along with me around 15 years of experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Major Ajit Kulkarni, heading security and safety for Axis Bank. I've been with the bank for about 4 years plus now, and this is my third bank. Been with Canara Bank and ICICI Bank earlier. I bring to the table about 18 years of service experience with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Arinda Mukherjee. I am from Cisco. I head the banking and finance business for Cisco in India. I am sure in the course of next 1 hour or so, you will get to have a very interesting perspective about the way Cisco is looking at this particular transition on the technology side on this particular session.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Gopal Punj from ANG India Limited. I have been in the profession for the last 30 years, providing security solutions to various government organizations and private sector enterprise. With such a long experience in the industry, I have reached up to a level where my major role is to provide as a consultancy and provide solutions. I hope this today interaction will be quite interesting and informative for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Abir Banerjee. I am from IBM. I'm the partner from the consulting organization. And essentially, I sort of drive the infrastructure business for the banking industry and the banking vertical. I think in the next 1 odd hours, followed by a presentation that I have, I would rather like to have an interactive discussion with you around the applicability of analytics. Surveillance is now past, right? I mean, we have seen for many years. We would like to see how we can monetize this and then improve the efficacy of the system, right, by utilizing analytics into this whole system, right? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Major Suman Mazumdar. I'm a former commando of the Indian Army. And right now, I'm the General Manager, Business Development for Indian Eye Security. Indian Eye Security, we are basically into a couple of verticals in the security arena. We are there into training. We are there into digital support in terms of security. And training happens to be one of our major parts, where we are also training government forces. And we look forward to share a couple of our products and a couple of our systems shortly after everybody's made the presentation, and look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panelists. Now we take it forward. I'll just focus on to what is the focus of this panel discussion today. We are going to be discussing on key physical security challenges in the coming year to the Indian banks, and how does one stay on top of these challenges and get the management approvals to achieve it. So the last few words are very important. The management approvals, we'll dwell upon it a little later. Ladies and gentlemen, the significance of the financial sector is crucial for a nation's growth. There is no denying this fact, which brings together the barons from various industries to deliberate and discuss on the current challenges through focused panel discussions and interactions. Now, woven around the theme of leveraging innovative security solutions for the banks and financial institutions during the present times of an evident slowdown, the conclave aims to specifically focus on executives leading the organizations from the forefront while assessing the sector's course ahead and figuring out ways to mitigate risks and enhancement of business profitability. In the course of next 45 minutes or so, since we are slightly tight for time, and we'll try to achieve the maximum in these 45 minutes, by way of an interactive panel discussion where, including the panelists, there would be certain queries and questions from me as well as maybe from the audience as well, and it will be open to the panelists. Any of the panelists could take on these questions, and maybe more than one panelist could answer that in case they have some valuable inputs to offer. The objective of today's event is to provide a knowledge platform for key representatives of the banking and financial sector and encourage them to brainstorm on key security issues that exist in the industry and share their experience and recommend better means to integrate the physical and cyber grids of India's financial systems towards all kind of hazards that may threaten India. So with this being the tagline, we'll progress with a little difference from the earlier panel discussions, where I can see in the audience there are lots of security professionals, and there are certain other people in the audience. Maybe for some people's benefit, I would like to speak a little on the security landscape as it exists in the banking industry in particular. There are certain glitches, there are certain shortcomings. So without any preambles, I would like to go straight on to these little peculiarities which we must be alive to. This is actually happening in the banking industry, and it naturally flows out from this that these are some major hurdles and challenges for heads of security and safety of our banks and financial institutions. Now, as I was discussing during the coffee break with some senior people, you see, firstly, we don't, in the real sense, have a security regulator where the standardization flows out from this regulator, and all the other banks and institutions fall in line and generally try to remain in this parameter and streamline systems. So what is actually existing now is it's the individual banks, by and large, it's the individual banks management and the heads of security who are really designing the security and safety infrastructure and apparatus for each bank. Though they are not very different from each other, but there are variations. And if I may add that there are variations, there are private sector banks, there are public sector banks, we have foreign banks, So they are bound by slightly different statutes, regulations, and acts and government regulations. So they are bound slightly differently. For example, there is a Central Vigilance Commission. This is the Hawkeye at Delhi, which keeps the public sector banks in particular. They have no choice. They have to follow the regulations of CVC all the time, including doing things like tenders and RFPs for security guards. If it is whether it's a state level tender or it's an all India tender. So these are imposing certain amount of restrictions in flexibility to the security heads, where you may not necessarily get the best product from the market. Some may agree with me, some may disagree. But by and large, we have very senior colleagues in our audience. We've had internal powwows and we do agree to that fact. But notwithstanding that, since there are instructions, we need to abide by that and follow it in letter and spirit. Now coming on to, there are certain tickling questions which remain largely unanswered. There are no specific solutions and answers for this, more related to physical security. I will elucidate them one by one so that we know that these are, you can call them little constraints under which the heads of security have to function and then provide a physical security apparatus and an infrastructure to each bank, and not to forget that it has to be an effective security and safety apparatus which should be functional and effective. Now with this being the challenge, I'll just list out a few things which are ground realities. We need to understand them. We come on to firstly the legal aspects. We may all feel, except the security heads and the security officers, that just putting and deploying 4 or 5 security guards, as you see in so many buildings, is that simple. You just give a telephone call to a security agency and they'll deploy 5 guards. Well, fine, the physical part is okay, they may deploy, but there are a lot of regulations, statutory guidelines from government, and I dare say that many of them are contradictory to each other. Those have to be complied with, because the security guard is in fact a source of inviting notices from Labor Department, from Service Tax Department, from Legal Department, from courts, from police. It's an open basket of trouble which you are asking for, but because there are statutory regulations, only from that angle, not from otherwise. So now I'll list out a few examples. Operating, for example, in the state of Maharashtra, where we are, it's one of the most complicated statutory regulations which have been enacted here. To say the least, there is a Private Security Agencies Regulation Act 2005. Now this is enacted by the central government. Now in the act itself, they have specified that the state governments shall separately enact, in line with this act, Private Security Agencies Regulation rules. This have to be enacted by the state government. So the state of Maharashtra has quickly enacted, quickly means this act was of 2005, so they have enacted the Private Security Regulations rules 2007. So they took 2 years to enact it. Now these are the central acts, there is a state act. Now in case of Maharashtra, there is a Maharashtra Security Guard Board, as we all know. And they have been causing a lot of, barriers to a lot of organizations. This was created with a different purpose, but it has taken the shape of a different kind. I don't want to elaborate further. Now this somehow is a separate act which the banks and the heads of security have to comply with, just because before you deploy that one guard, I'm talking about one guard, what all applies to him. Then you have another new organization, I would say fairly new, is a Maharashtra State Security Corporation, 2010. This is also an act. Now, there is a Maharashtra Security Guard Board, there is a Maharashtra State Security Corporation 2010, they have their own act. Now, under section 23, 24 and 25 of this Maharashtra State Security Corporation Act, all Maharashtra Guard Board guards have to take a concurrence from this another organization before they deploy the guards. So they are restricting each other. So as a result, what has happened is, as was expected, that both these organizations are in the High Court of Mumbai against each other. So what I'm trying to get at is that because of this excessive acts and there being no central regulatory body in the real sense, the end sufferer is this bank or the branches where the security is required, because you are grappling with these acts only. And in the bargain, they issue notices, which I'm sure all of you are aware. They issue the notice in the name of CMD, Chairman, Management. We all are aware of that. So managements don't take it very kindly, and they offer their wrath to the heads of security, because they don't want to, it's not their business to get into the nitty-gritties of all this. The heads of security have to manage it. So that is the challenge. So it may sound very cozy, but that's not all rosy. It's not all that rosy for the heads of security to implement guarding options. So I'm just trying to give you a cursory, passing reference to these acts. They are very detailed acts. Most of us have gone through it. So this is, the statutory acts themselves are a little bit of a challenge to heads of security to smoothly implement guarding. Because largely, as we have around 80,000 branches in the country around that, and each, you can imagine the requirement of security guarding which is required, and it has to be largely private security guards. There are few banks who have their regular employees as regular guards, but it's not really affordable, and there are other issues which get raised with all that. So most of us are largely banking on private security agencies and private security guards. That's one. Getting on to another aspect. You see, there are a lot of MPs and MLAs and legislators who also own these security agencies either directly or by proxy. So it's a good business, and I have gone through many cases where there's a very good initiative taken by one of the banks. I don't want to name it, it's a private sector bank, and the wrath fell on us because we had to answer. You see, the intention was very noble by the heads of security. They wanted to do some cost cutting on security, so they categorized their branches into low risk, medium risk and high risk branches. Fine. So naturally low risk and moderate risk may not have warranted that kind of guarding expenditure as high risk branches. That was the noble intent. But however, because I told you there are some MPs and so many of them own security agencies by proxy or directly, so they put on the good old star question in the parliament. So there is a star question which came that please answer that, has the government of India decided to dilute security in bank branches? This was the way it was put across, so the government quickly decides to upgrade it fast so that he gets more business. That was the whole purpose. So these are little hurdles which we have to grapple with. All the same, I am just highlighting them for benefit of those who may not be aware. Most of you would be aware. Now, I hope, I just want to apprise you of one more. These are all out of personal experience. What happens is, guards are there in the bank branches. It's a mandatory requirement. But there are instances where there are robberies and break-ins and there are fires in branches. It happens. So when you go for insurance claims, what happens is the insurance guys are just looking at issues by which they can cut down your claims on some pretext or the other. And one of them being very importantly is which is the security agency and how many guards were there. Because why couldn't he, suppose even if it's a fire, he says the guard is there 24/7. There is no other category of the employee or any staff which is there in the branch. He should have immediately informed and the fire brigade should have come in 10 minutes. But that didn't happen, so the branch burnt. So the compensation asked for against a branch is some crores. So they cut down your claims on these issues, and then they start checking the compliances of the security agency, what are the statutory compliances, whether they did it or did not, they violated. It's all the responsibility of the bank being the principal employer. So this is just for food for thought. These are live issues which one has gone through. Okay, so much for the peculiarities in the banking sector, which I thought it will be better before we start the questions to the panelists so that you are aware of these things. And to some extent, most banks have trade unions. So trade unions themselves at times cause a little hurdle in deploying electronic security systems for different reasons, one of them being that many systems mark time attendance. So that's why, so because time attendance is there, they don't desire all that. So they want to, they want to put a spoke in your deployment of electronic security systems. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so much for the peculiarities. Now we'll move on to our elite panelists are there, as I said, and they're all armed with a lot of knowledge about electronics and also physical security. So we'll try to take advantage of their presence here.